Hello, welcome to the Guardian Football Weekly, part 2 of the Premier League predictions. We've replaced a Lou and a JJB with a Wilson and a Brewin. Can Leeds become a force again in the Premier League? To do that, they have to stay in the Premier League. Can Daniel Farke surprise even his owners and do it this time around? Liverpool have recruited bigly and well, although the Community Shield second half might have the experts rethinking a second title in a row. Could Man City win the title? Pep is still Pep. They've bought some more after going big in January, but have they fixed the defensive frailties that cost them last year? What of Manchester United? Big Sir Jim has given Ruben Amorim cash and he's brought in some fun players, but how heavy will the shirt weigh on this lot? Newcastle have not won the window, but they still have Eddie Howe. Forest have been promoted to the Europa and have kept Morgan Gibbs-White. Blink twice, Morgan, if everything's okay. Will Thomas Frank add more trophies after Ange opened the floodgates? Brackets note, we are recording before Spurs hammered PSG on Wednesday night. And how nervous should West Ham and Wolves fans be, not only for their seasons, but the fact that yet again the alphabet has cost them and will have run out of time to do them justice. This is the Guardian Football Weekly. On this panel, Barry Glendenning again, welcome.
Hi, Max.
Joining us as well, Jonathan Wilson, hello.
Morning, how you doing?
I'm very well. And John Brewin.
Hello.
The hot takes that you missed from yesterday, chaps, is that Barry and Jordan both relegated Everton. I don't know how you feel about that one.
So you new stadium, more misery is the vibe you're going for.
That's the vibe. That was my most surprising part.
Even deeper misery, I suppose, would be the way of putting it.
Thoughts, Wilson?
I mean, obviously, I speak slightly with my Sunderland hat on here. That you're looking at teams who might be worse than Sunderland this season. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't have Everton top of that list, but they are on that list.
Mm. So there we are. Sorry, Everton fans. And let's begin this part with Leeds. They have brought in a lot of players who I have never heard of, and hopefully some of you have. They begin at home to Everton. They go to Arsenal, Newcastle, Fulham and Wolves in their opening game. They won the Championship last year. John, you said on a recent podcast you'd be happy to see Leeds back in the Premier League, existing in the Premier League. You didn't necessarily say you want them to be successful.
Yeah, I like the idea of a Yorkshire and proud club in, I'm all for devolution to the regions. And Leeds represent, funny enough, Leeds have this sort of diaspora of fans from right across the span.
They're huge in Australia because of, Viduka and Kuhl.
Yeah, and also if you go from almost like Lincoln across to West Yorkshire, they have this sort of, a certain type of fan. But they obviously the 1970s and maybe the early 90s have given them that cachet, and there's something of a fallen giant of English football, and it's nice to see them back. And this season it's going to be difficult again. I think it's because they don't have the Bielsa magician. Daniel Farke is a good manager. He's a great manager in the Championship. We know that. And I think, as I've said before, there will be, if Leeds struggle early doors, considering the fact that the owners considered replacing him at the end of the season, I think, Farke is going to be a manager under some pressure from the very start. He knows that. He knows the game. And he'll accept it, and he'll accept the challenge. But I'd like to see him do well.
I think we all hope that the promoted sides make a better fist of it than last season, but I've sensed they might have more chance, and specifically with Leeds. How do you see them?
Yeah, I know they finished level on points with Burnley, but they were certainly the better side to watch last season. I think it's interesting what Burnley have done, that they sort of play the defensive football last season they probably will have to play this season. Leeds are much more traditional. We're better in the Championship, we're going to attack them. And I remember the game when Sunderland played at Elland Road, which would have been, the March time, and Sunderland were 1-0 up till the 70-something minute, ended up losing 3-1 because Leeds had Mena Solomon, they had Dan James, but then they could bring on Rabatani and Willie Nonto. And no other team in the Championship had that level of attacking quality. But that sounds very different when you put it in a Premier League context. So, Daniel Farke is his third crack at the Premier League. I think the sense before was his teams were quite good going forward, but not necessarily that good at the back. And I think that could easily be the problem again. They have replaced Ilan Meslier, which I think was necessary. Whether Lucas Perry is a significant improvement or not, we'll find out.
Lucas Perry Suckling, could he be that good?
Oh yeah.
How do you see Leeds faring, Baz?
I think they'll struggle. I think they'll be in a group of 6 or 7 that will the relegated three will come out. I do think they'll go back down, but I wouldn't be hugely surprised if they stayed up. This guy Anton Stack, they've bought in, the defensive midfielder from Hoffenheim. I've heard people raving about him. I don't know much about him myself. They've brought in Sean Longstaff from Newcastle, who's a decent player, but he's getting on a bit, I think. And
Is he?
Is he?
How old's
Don't tell
Sean
me Sean
Longstaff?
Longstaff's
27.
Oh, okay, he's not getting on about. Who am I thinking?
He was
of?
born in 97. He is 27.
Right. Well, I should
1
probably
point to
shut
Wilson.
up now. He's a perfectly decent midfielder, but I don't know if he'll start in that side. It'll probably be Stack, Ampadu in the heart of the Leeds first choice midfield. There are question marks over Farke, obviously, but this is a different proposition, I think, to Norwich. Carrow Road's quite a gentle environment. Elland Road's a bear
They
pit.
wouldn't say that, you know. Have you never? Carrow Road can get going, you know.
Where
Not like Elland Road, but yeah.
I've been to Carrow Road a few times. Well, look, everyone is saying, you know, the Elland Road factor is a big factor.
Yeah.
And I think
no one has
that's-
ever said the Carrow Road
No,
factor.
no,
That's a
they
good
have
point.
not. In any other world, I'd like to see them do well, but I want them to be worse than Sunderland. Whether they are or not is anyone's guess, but they, I don't-
They have a Japanese player, Tanaka, who I'm really looking forward to seeing in the Premier League. He was really good in the Championship last season. Declan Rice is a huge fan of his.
Right.
So that shows you that he said, I'm really looking forward to seeing him play in the Premier League next season. So watch out for him.
Okay. Where have you got them, John?
17th.
17th. Barry?
18th.
Jonathan?
I haven't written numbers down, so 17th.
Okay. Numbers feel like an important
Yeah,
part
that's
of
the-
predicting a table.
Yeah.
I just put them in order. Now
Lads, you literally had one job.
Okay. I have them
just thought I'd be reading out the table at the end. I didn't
Right, I
realise I'd
see.
have to kind of.
well, I have them 15th. I'm trying to keep Leeds and Sunderland up. I'm trying to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I would say of the 20 teams in the league, Leeds are probably the one I know the least amount about. They're very much.
The bar there is high or low.
Well, that is the kind of condescending comment I was expecting, which is predictable but entirely unfair.
I didn't want to put you
There
in
are
a bad
20
mood.
teams in the Premier
Yeah.
League. I know a lot more about some of them than I know about others.
enough.
Leeds are the one I know least about.
I didn't want to get on the wrong side of you, Barry, this early in this podcast. Will you accept my apologies?
Well, is it sincere?
It is sincere, yeah.
I don't think it is.
It is sincere.
Right, okay.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of yours, Barry. I spent too much time with you not to be. Liverpool have obviously bought in a lot. Florian Wirtz, Hugo Ekitike, Milos Kerkez, Jeremy Frimpong, Alexander Isak. Not yet, but, you know,
Yeah.
the rumours suggest he will get there. Obviously, Luis Diaz, Gerald Quansha, Kevin Kelleher, Trent Alexander-Arnold have gone. And, of course, they lost Diogo Jota in that tragedy. They begin at home to Bournemouth on Friday night. They go to Newcastle, Arsenal, Burnley and Everton. We've talked a lot about Liverpool already, Wilson. Has what you saw at the Community Shield changed any of your thoughts on them?
Well, slightly. So I thought that I wrote a piece last Saturday from last Saturday night's website. Now that there is no Sunday paper, suggesting that the level of change is not just that they brought in 4 players, 5 players, depending exactly who you count. It's the nature of the players they brought in that probably would take time to settle. And even if that goes perfectly, it's a process. It'll take 4 or 5 weeks. It could cost them 4 or 5 points. And if it is a tight title race, that could be decisive. I think you look at the squad, particularly if Isak joins, it looks incredibly exciting. But they're changing shape. They're going from more of sort of a 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1 hybrid to a 4-2-3-1. That puts more pressure on the 2 players at the back of midfield. I'm not sure that that's going to be an easy process. I know that on Sunday, Gravenberch wasn't there, McAllister wasn't fit enough to start. The area is going to be under pressure. You haven't even got your first 2 choice players there. But that's why I think Van Dijk kept on getting dragged forward into that space where Gravenberch should be. So that, I think, was all quite predictable. What I hadn't sort of appreciated was the issue they were going to have getting the ball to Mohamed Salah, which I think is partly because Alexander-Arnold was so good at that you sort of, not you took his passing for granted, but those sort of 30, 40-yard accurate passes he would play, which would get the ball to Salah quickly, get Salah breaking. There's not really anybody there to do that now. Frimpong is a totally different type of fullback. He's always going to go on the outside. That should suit Salah in that he wants to come infield, so that creates space, creates that channel for Frimpong to go outside. But you then have to balance that defensively, and also Salah coming infield needs a centre forward to get out of the way. And Ekitike sort of it was the worst of both worlds. He got out of the way in the sense he spent a lot of his time over on the left, but he wasn't getting out of the way in the sense of dropping deep, creating the space for Salah. So Salah was left very isolated. So I don't think it's a massive issue, but it is an issue that needs fixing. And therefore, I've kind of slightly downgraded my estimation of him.
Yeah, I was at the Community Shield. I would echo much of what Jonathan says. But you have to trust Arne Slot. When Liverpool appointed him, when Richard Hughes turned to him, they did so because they thought he was one of the best tacticians in the game. He's obviously will have seen what's gone wrong in the Community Shield. He seemed pretty unflustered by that. But, as Jonathan said, the title race may come down to small margins. Now, I watched Florian Wirtz, and, he's not a Rolls Royce of a player. He's a Mercedes S-Class.
Right.
He's a brilliant player. God, it was like, okay, this guy is special. But there may be some sort of Juan Sebastian Veron vibes in there, where he's so good. And the fans are going to love him. Mm-hmm. Remember how Liverpool fans were with Thiago Alcantara?
Yeah.
Oh, this guy, mesmeric, I think was the word that they used.
God, the way Thiago kicks the ball, though, it's nice.
Yeah, but it didn't quite work, did
it?
Because
fair.
It didn't quite work with the way that Liverpool had become used to their team playing. And if you put a player like that who is so, by his nature, dominant, it may take time for the rest of the team to fit around him. And Salah, in that game, and that's not to say what happened every game, Salah was isolated. Now, Salah has been a player that's carried them for many years. And also, Wirtz being in the team, as Jonathan said, also meant Virgil van Dijk, the other, totem of the team, is pulled into that position. So there's a balance that needs to be struck there. And I suppose it's a question of how long it takes for Slot to find a solution to that.
Barry, Liverpool.
I suppose the one thing to add is they look very light in central defence. If anything happens to Konate or Virgil, then I could see that being a problem. Obviously, there's 20 days of the transfer window remaining, so that they may bring in someone. Mark Gay's been talked about. I think in pre-season, they've had Andy Robertson do a shift in the heart of defence. Gravenberch has played in the heart of defence. Maybe Endo as well can do a job. But I do think they are, at the moment, completely over-reliant on Konate and Van Dijk, which is fine as long as they're fit. But if either of them suffered a injury that was going to keep them out for a long period, I could see that being a problem. But otherwise, I think they'll retain their title.
You have them first. I have them third. Wilson.
Third.
Brewin.
Second.
Second. Okay, how exciting. Okay, then Manchester City, who've brought in Reinders from AC Milan. Ryan Nouri's coming from Wolves. Ryan Cherky as well from Lyon. James Trafford from Burnley. And Sver Naipan, a midfielder from Rosenborg. They've obviously lost Kevin De Bruyne and Carl Walker. A lot of experience in there. They begin at Molineux, then they play Spurs, Brighton, Man United and Arsenal in their opening 5 games. Presume, Barry, the hunger will be back for City.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. Obviously, every City preview has to be accompanied by the big charges asterisk. But I think much of it's kind of Pep's third iteration of City, isn't it, with no De Bruyne now? Much will depend, I suspect, on whether Phil Foden has a good season or not. He was weirdly bad last season, I thought, and he needs to step up, I suspect. The signings they've brought in I suspect James Trafford will definitely challenge Ederson for the first choice goalkeeper position. They've just got so many good players. There's no real mega buck signing. They're all around the 50-60 million mark, I think. But I think they will challenge for the title, but I don't think they'll win it. But I could also see them finishing maybe 9th or 10th.
Oh.
I don't know, but...
Well, Johnny Lew had them 6th, Wilson, which surprised me. But how do you... And I think they will win the title this year. I certainly have them top. But how do you see them going? And how do you see them changing from what went wrong last year?
The signings both in January and in the summer reflect this. I think they probably try to get away with 1 year too many, with too many players who were getting towards the end. Rodri being injured obviously was the huge issue, and I think a lot depends on how well he comes back. I mean, if Rodri is back at his imperious best, then absolutely no reason why they shouldn't win the title. I think a lot depends as well on Guardiola, that he clearly found last season very difficult. That interview he gave to GQ, he sounded very tired. He was talking about the break he was going to have when his contract's up in 2027. Well, he didn't specifically say when his contract's up in 2027. He said when he leaves City, but his contract is up in 2027. So you assume he's looking at that as the end. I'm never sure it's a great sign if you're embarking on quite a big job of rebuilding. You're bringing in, is it 9 new players this year? And you're already thinking of a holiday you're going to have when you're finished. That doesn't sound like somebody who's got bags of energy. But, it may be this is a new challenge for him, and he is sort of energised by that. It's almost a bit, I don't know if you've read Stuart Lee's autobiography, but he talks about how he's doing this long tour in the Southern Hemisphere, in fact.
Right.
And how he got bored. Mm-hmm. And he would then liven up for himself by deliberately losing part of a room in New Zealand just for the fun of getting it back. And
I mean, I've lost many rooms, not quite so
have you ever
deliberately.
got one back? But imagine how good that would be, right?
Yeah.
And Guardiola's in the rare position. Most managers, when things start to go wrong, they just get sacked because he's got so much credit in the bank. He's got this chance to rebuild, and it may be that does sort of give him this sort of renewed sense of purpose. It does sort of recharge him. But he's been a manager at the top level for 16 of the last 17 years, and that is a long time for managers to be at the very top. So it's very difficult to know whether he will be recharged or whether he won't be. If he's recharged, yeah, they can win the title. If not, then it could be a difficult season for them.
So it's interesting that they brought in those players in January who have had time to settle down. I think Marmoush is such a brilliant player, and if him and Haaland can sort of find a way of working together, can they?
They did seem a bit of cross purposes a bit last season, didn't they? I mean, it's funny when you look at those January signings. I mean, Victor Hayes has already gone to Girona. Now, that normally isn't a positive sign for City, is it? Though he's very young. I mean, City are the great intangible of the season, really, because previously City have signed players that you've thought ready-made. This guy will come in and be brilliant for them. And we're buying players that we knew all about, like Jack Grealish. And Jack Grealish is one of the people that has departed the club, like Kevin De Bruyne, like Kyle Walker. So they're not particularly recognisable. But the question is, as Jonathan says, it's in Pep. And Pep's been pretty, public-facing this summer. Big GQ interview, hanging around at the Oasis concert, videoing himself singing into his iPhone at the concert as... I've never done that, but, whatever lights you
Which
can.
song did he choose to sing along to?
I think it was Don't Look Back in Anger.
Fair enough. Okay.
Which is the Manchester anthem, so
Fine.
fair enough.
Yeah.
Because to be fair to Pep, I don't know if you saw this tweet over the summer, which was about how Pep has become part of Manchester, and you never saw that from Alex Ferguson, which is nonsense, because Ferguson's still lives there. Mm-hmm. One of Fergie's best mates was a guy called Fufu Lamar, who was basically a drag artist, right? His real name was Frank.
Got it.
Yeah, who in the gay village, and so you can't get more invested in a city than hanging around there. So there's this whole sort of, because Manchester is about City v United, right? Yeah, I mean, as you can tell by my own dribblings on the subject, and. But when we're talking about greatness as a manager, why do we think Ferguson was a great manager? It's the reinventions, isn't it? It's the coming back again and again and again. And if Pep does it this time, with this group of players that we don't really know what tactics he's going to adopt. We don't know if because he's talked, hasn't he, about maybe it's about being more aggressive, maybe it's being like Bournemouth, maybe it's being like Newcastle. If he does a tactical revolution with this group of players and wins the title, well, all hail Pep.
I suppose defensively, you're right. They will not look like, when you think of City, you just think you know all the players. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see.
Well, Ayat Nuri, I think, is a really interesting signing because I would never have picked him as a Guardiola player.
No.
Like Wolves, great to watch because he gets up and down. He's kind of fun to watch as a neutral. Is he really going to be able to sort of adapt himself to the discipline of the Guardiola side? That smells immediately to me of one of those signings that Pep has two looks at him and then...
Does he get Grealished?
Exactly, yeah. Or maybe even earlier, does he get Calvin Phillips?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and the thing is, Pep is good at burning bridges with players. But it's like, I'm not interested. And there's a long list of those players.
I suppose we don't know at the time of recording. Savinho's still there, and I suppose if he does go, they could bring in Rodrigo. And
Rodrigo, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, guys.
Yeah.
But the Savinho, if he does go, City had this spell of, I don't know how long it would have been, like, say 7-8 years, where they didn't get a transfer wrong. They were brilliant at signing players, and that just seems to have gone slightly wrong in that last season under Chiqui Begiristain. Obviously, Hugo Viana's come in now. These are Hugo Viana signings. And it does just feel... I mean, the profile of the player seems younger, less proven, which is fine. I mean, that's a logical way to do it. In many ways, a lot of clubs are doing that. Ryan Cherky, I think, is a hugely exciting prospect. Not quite guaranteed that he'll fit in straight away, but he's definitely a player you would like to have at your club. But I think there is a question mark now over City's recruitment in the way they just hadn't been for a long time.
Have we done their positions?
No.
Barry?
Second.
Fourth.
Third.
Top. That'll do for part one. Part two, we'll begin with Manchester United. Welcome to part two of the Guardian Football Weekly. Yes, please come to our live show on the 11th of September, playing the Troxy in London. Wilson, you're part of the panel.
Yeah, very excited.
Along with Johnny Lou, Nicky Bandini, lots of cameos. Fancy coming down, John?
Yeah,
Do a bit.
Sure.
There you are, John Brewin coming down. This is great, getting everyone in. Tickets can be purchased by heading to theguardian.com/Football Weekly Live. We're live streaming it across the world. No excuses for any of you lot to watch it at some point. And lots of videos, etc. Plugging what we're going to be doing on our Instagram, Blue Sky, and TikToks. Manchester United.
Sorry, you did not mean no excuse not to watch it.
What did I say?
No excuse to watch it.
Both are fine. Yeah.
If I find out any of you have watched it, I'll be very disappointed. Manchester United then have brought in Brian Mbeumo, Matthias Cunha, Benjamin Sesko. They're interested in Baleba. Rashford has gone. Christian Eriksen's gone. They begin at home to Arsenal. Then they go to Fulham, home to Burnley, away to City, home to Chelsea. They came 15th last year. Dwayne says, how many points will Manchester United win the league by? Danny, can United fit in a title parade before the World Cup? Come on then, John. They've spent a lot of money. How are you feeling?
Well, I'm surprised they've spent so much money. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing to say. The players that they've brought in are all good players, but they're not top players because that's not the market that Manchester United can exist in anymore. Because
you almost went full Merce, top players.
Top.
Yeah,
but they can't. Say Rodrigo, you mentioned before.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to sign for Manchester United, but they are still capable of picking off players from smaller clubs. So Mbeumo, watched a lot of him at Brentford, good player. Can he make the step up? Cunha.
Or the step down.
Well, Barry, it's undeniable, yes. Yeah, I'm just getting used to it. All right,
sorry.
It's been 10 years, but it still hurts. It still hurts. But so you've
been 12.
Whatever. God. But there was 2 years of hope, but there's 10 of misery. Oh, I mean, they didn't even win trophies and it's still miserable. Oh God, we'd like to do that again. No, but Cunha, brilliant play for Wolves. explosive. So you've got this sort of idea that you're looking for like the new firebrand, the new Cantona. Let's not give him that label already. That's absolutely ludicrous. Sesko, it's funny, isn't it? A player like that there's a lot. So many clubs were linked with him. Manchester United end up with him, and you already get the back channels. Well, he's a lot of clubs have looked at him. He's no good, and so. It is funny that they've just gone big Sir Jim spending has gone for broke. They've gone for strikers. They've just gone for it.
Gone for bit, as Lars made the point. They've gone for lots of players who just shoot from anywhere.
Well,
it's going to be fun.
Well, it's showbiz. It's showbiz. It's Manchester United. Let's bring back Manchester United as an entertainment franchise rather than a black comedy. It's
can be both.
And it is likely to be both. The other aspect, of course, is that. This red-hot manager that they signed, back in October, November last year, almost, it appeared, gave up on the domestic season and gave up on a lot of players. He now has to work with those players that he's got at the moment. He has had the summer to train them as he would like. He's had the summer to fit them to this formation that for some reason he is utterly wedded to. I think and my predictions for the season is that at one point he will not play that formation and he might just be a little bit better. Or it's worse and he says I was right all along or whatever. There'll be some variation there. But Amorim, my observation of Amorim over the summer is this. I was away, I came back from holiday from my black metal weekend, got home and just as I got there, they're showing the Premier League, the summer series. And I didn't catch any of the game, but I did see they were like, "Oh, we're just waiting to speak to Ruben Amorim," and they cut to Ruben Amorim, face like thunder, and they took a while to get Ruben Amorim on because he was obviously annoyed about it. It was an own goal, wasn't it, in that game? He was annoyed. He also has already developed the curse of Manchester United. He looks about 15 years older than when he took that job. Remember when Jose Mourinho went from salt and pepper to white?
Yeah.
And
it happens to the best of us.
Yes, well, quite, yes. But it's. Let's see how the Manchester United process. David Moyes turned up, strawberry blonde, left a very grey man. So we'll have to see.
I didn't think you'd be that enthusiastic, Barry. How do you see them?
It's one of the tougher ones to call. I personally think Ruben Amorim will whip Manchester United into shape and make them a force again. I could be wrong. He could be the equivalent of the monorail guy of The Simpsons.
At least he has built a monorail in Lisbon.
Yeah,
that actually did happen. So, well, I think left quite a good monorail sort of heritage in Lisbon as well.
I think the monorail guy in The Simpsons built one in Shelbyville as well, but it wasn't. It wasn't a very good monorail. But then there's the concern. The players he has brought in, or United have brought in, are clearly good players. But then Manchester United have brought in a lot of good players over the last 10 years who have suddenly stopped being good players and become very bad players. Will this happen again? Only time will tell. So I'm inclined to think I can't see them plumbing the depths of last season. I just cannot see that happening, as funny as it would be. But I think they'll be fine without pulling up too many trees.
Give us your thoughts, Wilson, and where you have them.
I mean, Barry says they've brought in very good players, but I'm not sure they have. They've brought in players who might be very good. Like Cunha is very tempestuous. Mm-hmm. That could easily go. It might be fine. He might be a Cantona, but it could go wrong. And Burmo has only really had one season of being anywhere near as prolific as he was last season. Brentford, I think, is a club where last season everything worked. Every aspect of it was working together. The squad was incredibly well crafted, and I suspect you take any unit out of that, they might not be as effective elsewhere. He might be fine, but there's a question. Šeško, he's big, he's quick, can't finish 1-on-1. No, he's young, that might come. So there's a doubt there. And is he any better? Maybe he probably is better than Højlund was when he turned up, or Xerxes when he turned up. And Xerxes completely different type of player. But you saw the thing that those players couldn't do immediately is highlighted at United, immediately exposed. Each of these three players, the same thing could happen. My other question, how much were they paying for those packed lunches? Because if this is a club that's on the brink of bankruptcy, as Jim Ratcliffe told us, and then they stop for packed lunch and suddenly they can spend 200 million quid on three forwards, that doesn't sound,
I don't know, if you go
200
to
million
Pret every
quid.
day, you'll be skinned quickly.
Actually, a Pret box is now 10 quid.
Yeah.
I had a shawarma box yesterday. That was good, but £10.
They weren't giving them Pret, though, were they?
Say again?
Well, they weren't giving them Pret, were they? Surely they were just in their own kitchens.
Don't
They were.
I had a green goddess juice, and that is Josh's dessert.
Oh, that's madness. So much sugar in there. What are you doing? Yeah.
Oh dear.
That's what you needed, maybe.
I think that the fact they don't have European football as well is quite an important factor.
That is a big thing, and I think the one advantage they've had or should have had is they had all this last 2/3 of last season for Amorim to look at the squad, assess it, start to put things in place. But then you'd have hoped, with all that sort of preparation, as soon as the window opens in July, but it got in the 4 or 5 players they want, crucially got rid of the players they want to get rid of. I mean, don't forget that Anthony's still there, Sancho's still there, Malassia's still there, Garnacho's still there. So 4 of the 5 players they want to get rid of are still there, taking their wages, draining resources. Sorry, that sounds like it's their fault. It's not their fault. It's that United have created that situation. And as long as they're there, it's obviously hampering what they can do elsewhere. I don't think if you'd looked at the squad last season, you necessarily have said that the front three was what needed the big change. I mean, their best player over the last 4 or 5 years has been Bruno Fernandes, and you would think he'd be one of those three. Maybe the plan's to play him deeper, but then you need somebody with an incredible engine to play alongside him. Ugarte really hasn't looked like last season. He didn't look capable of doing that. Made the big mistake against Everton in the summer series. Baleba would seem that profile of player who could do that, but he's still young. There's a lot of pressure to put on him. Where does Kobbie Mainoo fit? It seems, this great young talent United have, but they've got a system that doesn't really work for him. Amad Diallo looked really good in parts last season, but is he really a wing back? It seems like he's so short.
Oh God, this is so miserable. Oh no,
he's so short. You sort of think, if he's playing right wing back, as the opposition, all you do is move the ball down the other wing, pop it up to the back post, and then
Duncan Ferguson heads out.
If you've dragged the back three across, then Diallo. What's Diallo going to do against a 6'4"? What would Diallo do in training in Sheshko? Nothing.
Where are we putting United? I have them 7th,
8th,
6th.
After all that.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Well, I think the lack of European football that time will help.
I'm so optimistic they're going to come 5th.
5th, wow. So the predictions don't really fit with the discussion, but that's fine. Newcastle then. They've brought in Anthony Elanga, they brought in Aaron Ramsdale. Malik Tau is on his way in from AC Milan. They want Johan Wissa as well. They've lost Lloyd Kelly, who wasn't there anyway, I think, last year. Sean Longstaff and Callum Wilson have gone. They go to Villa and then play Liverpool, Leeds, Wolves and Bournemouth. They came 5th last year, where we have 2 Sunderland fans on this panel. David Ornstein tweeting this morning, he's adamant he will not play for Newcastle ever again, even if the window closes. No wish to reintegrate. God, they should have had him at that barbecue, shouldn't they? So presuming he goes then, John.
Yes.
How do we view this Newcastle season? Johnny Lew had them 3rd, saying, look, beyond the noise, they're still a very good team with a very good coach.
I don't doubt that it's a talented group, but it's a much lessened group without a player like Isak. We've got to suggest that is the end for him. They're just going to have to get that deal done and then buy in the players to replace him, or rather flesh out the rest of the team. Borrowed Aaron Ramsdale, didn't they, on loan? Goalkeeper's been a problem for them, hasn't it? Nick Pope, they've sort of lost trust in him and...
I suppose he doesn't play out. Depends how you want to play, right?
Yes, yeah. Does Aaron Ramsdale play that well out?
Well, I mean, that was the Raya Ramsdale.
Yeah, that was what I was
but he's better than Nick Pope.
He's also a relegation specialist. So.
Yes, well, yeah, you're into sort of Nigel Quasi territory, aren't you, with a goalkeeper? But listen, Newcastle, it's almost like you can't talk about the football with them because it's like this soap opera has taken a different direction. It's the realisation that maybe the Saudi ownership wasn't the golden ticket. Maybe the diversification of Saudi Arabian interests maybe has Newcastle a little further down the priority list than before. It's a situation that will amuse quite a lot of people because the way that the Saudis were received with such open arms, though you have to have sympathy for Newcastle fans who felt that the Mike Ashley reign would not be repeated. Eddie Howe is a manager who has done a great job for them. This is a severe test of his ability to pull the club together. You'd expect the public to be unified behind him. They've got someone to hate. That's Alexander Isak now, the guy that was their godhead last season. It's going to be very, very difficult. They're in the Champions League as well. So in the reverse of Manchester United having a clear look at things, being able to play week to week, they won't be able to play week to week. I'd expect them to drop out of the top 5. We're going to have to see what dealings they can do. The other thing is, compare the Saudis to the Abu Dhabi arrangement. Abu Dhabi, when they went into Manchester City, got the setup behind the manager correct. That's what's gone wrong at Newcastle. It's been a mess. Paul Mitchell, sporting director, has left. Amanda Stavey left the club, which people say has had a big effect. It's been a mess behind, and you've had the recruitment policy not working. You can have all the money in the world, as Manchester United have proved. If you don't spend it properly on the right people running the club, then you've got problems. And those are the problems Newcastle have got.
Yeah. I've got them down in 10th, Barry. You?
I have them 11th. And the weird thing is, if a couple of days after the end of last season you'd asked me, I'd have thought this is going to be a big summer of recruitment for them, and they will definitely be in the shake-up for the title next season. And now I think they'll do well to finish in the top half of the table. I'm not going to pretend I haven't. I've found this whole Isak saga and them going for this apparent reluctance of so many players to go near them hilarious. I'm not going to pretend anything other than that. But there's just something weird going on there. It's not. I don't think it's a northeast thing.
No,
it's specifically a Newcastle thing. I'm wondering, is there some big footballer group WhatsApp chat that they all know something we don't? I'm only guessing, but I think Newcastle, it should be a very attractive proposition.
Yeah,
and players won't touch them with a pole.
It's a great place to live, and we visited for Jonathan's wedding. It's a fantastic place, and I love Newcastle as a place. I'd happily live there, but footballers don't seem to want to go there to play for Eddie Howe.
So where are you putting them?
I have them 11th.
Wilson?
8th.
And because Johnny had them 3rd, in the sense that we do get so carried away with transfer stories. And
I just think there's been so much focus on Isak and Wissa and blah. They're very woefully short in other areas. Like, they need a couple of centre-backs. They need a...
Yeah, Botman isn't the fittest,
But I think there's a mood issue there as well. I think that's what's so frustrating for them, that they win a domestic trophy first time in 70 years. We're back in the Champions League. This should have been all positivity. And instead, there's this, their sort of iconic player wants to leave. I think a couple of other players are looking at that and thinking, well, if he wants to go, maybe I also want to go. Their struggles to bring players in, I think, mean that that tier of players just below Isak are thinking, well, is this place building or not? And I think I've got sympathy with them there, in the sense that Amanda Stavey left for reasons of health, and that's very sad. And she clearly performed a very useful function there in terms of being some kind of liaison. And it appears that Paul, besides the briefings, it's very, very hard to know exactly what the truth is. But it appears that Paul Mitchell took a much harder line with Isak than she would have done. And maybe had she been able to remain, that situation could have been resolved. They could have come to some kind of agreement. Do us one more year, and we'll let you go. We'll put in a release clause or whatever, rather than this really toxic standoff where it's very hard to see how he could come back now. I know players have come back. Luis Suarez wanted to leave Liverpool and came back and was
Amazing.
It helped he was banned for first seven games of that season, so there was a natural sort of cooling off period. But it does happen, but it's very hard to see it in this circumstance. Also, Darren Eales, the CEO, is
leaving. Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, he's in terrible health, and that's a tragic situation. But that possibly means they haven't quite had the leadership they might have had, and then the fact that the complication that the Saudi PIF. I mean, one of the things Paul Mitchell got frustrated with, I think, was things had to go through a whole series of committees. He could never really take a decision. It always took ages to get done. And the less interested the Saudis become in Newcastle, and they do seem to be refocusing on Saudi-based sport, then the further down that priority list they slide. So, I think the issue is not really the quality of players in the squad. I think Barry's right. There are a couple of areas where they obviously are short. It's just this sense of, hang on, this has stopped moving forward. And as soon as you lose that momentum, the better players are always looking, hang on, where can I get a better deal? Where's the next place to go? And the fact that they're have not recently been a regular Champions League qualifier means there's always that doubt. And still, it appears Benjamin Šeško preferred the offering at Manchester United, which, assuming he's got a...
He didn't listen to our bit about Man United, though, to be fair.
But assuming he's got a cable channel in Leipzig, he must have seen United play. But even then, that is maybe they offered him more money, I don't know. If Isak was only on 20 grand a week, maybe it is purely financial. But anyway, Manchester United's package was more attractive than Newcastle United's package.
Nottingham Forest have brought in Dan Ndoye from Bologna, forward and a winger. Igor Jesus from Botafogo and João Cunha, centre-back from Botafogo as well. Alanga's gone to Newcastle. Danilo's gone. A couple of others have gone as well. They begin at home to Brentford. They play Palace, West Ham, Arsenal, Burnley. They finished 7th. Jim says, as the headline in Wilson's recent article noted, analysing pre-season friendlies is maddening, but right now it's all we have. With that in mind, Forest scoring 1 goal in 7 games feels suboptimal, don't you think? And they did massively overperform expectations, certainly me and Barry's expectations. We had them relegated. They have to compete on multiple fronts. They have kept hold of Morgan Gibbs-White. Elliot Anderson was perhaps England's standout player in the Under-21 Euros. I know Harvey Elliott got player of the tournament. How do we think they're going to go, Barry?
I'm not relegating them this season, but I do expect a massive drop-off from what they did achieve last season. I think Elanga is a huge loss. I don't think Chris Wood will get anywhere near 20 goals again. Morgan Gibbs-White appears to be being held there very much against his will. So I suspect he may not perform as well as he did last season. They have had a clear out of quite a lot of dead wood, I suppose you could call it. Milenkovic and Murillo, if they can be as good again this season, or as they were last season, that would be a big feather in their cap. But I do expect just an overall drop-off, and I can't see them... I can't see them trouble in the top half of the table, but I'm not relegating.
Well, I've actually got them 8th, Wilson.
I've got them 14th.
Okay.
For much the same reasons as Barry said. I think having to play in Europe will put a stress on that squad. Chris Wood had the season of his life last season. He may well get 10 or 12 or 15 this season, but it's not going to be as good as last season. I'm not convinced that Dan Ndoye is an upgrade on Elanga. He might be. I mean, he's played very well for Bologna, but whether he's exactly that sort of very direct, sort of somebody who's very good in transition. Elanga was perfect for that, and Dan Ndoye may not be quite perfect for that. So I think there will be a drop off, and I sort of sense around that club. I mean, I'm saying that like this is some great wisdom that only I've defined, but there is a volatility around that club.
Could you put your finger on where that comes from? I
don't know.
Okay, fine.
It tends to come from the top, these things. But who knows? And so if you're, was this one of the questions we had to answer? Who's going to be the first manager to go? But Nuno, for no good reason, is pretty high on that list, just because
it's not
Marinakis. He likes sacking a manager.
Where have you got them, John?
I've got them 14th. I think that European. Being in the European routine will affect them, as it has done so many teams over the years. They haven't really strengthened. This striker, Igor Jesus, that's using this. Marinakis appears to have this hotline to Brazil, doesn't he? In which they got Murillo. What Forest did so well with a couple of players is that they have, whereas, say, smaller European clubs pick up Brazilian players and then own them up, Nottingham Forest are going straight to the producer, and that's to the original line of it, and picking up that talent. Let's see how he goes. Was it Brentford had signed a player called Igor last season, and he got injured?
Yeah.
I'm hoping that doesn't happen the same.
We need a fit Igor.
We need a fit. I want to see both fit Igors this season.
Two big Igors.
Brentford are going to need their Igor.
They are going to need their Igor.
Has there ever been a good Igor? Igor Stepanovs wasn't particularly
Igor
good.
Tudor.
Igor Tudor's a good player.
Igor Stimac?
But in the Premier League.
Igor
he was a
Igor
Derby.
Stimac was good in Derby.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, fair enough.
The best Igor. Thank you
Igor,
so much.
Best Igor.
I'm here. There is a reason for me. All right, that'll do for part 2. Part 3, Igor Bishkan as well, says producer Joel. Yeah, of course. There's a plethora of Igors.
Bishkan was better in the Champions League than he was in the Premier League.
Still, I mean, he was so good that game away against Juventus.
Brilliant.
We're tight for time. We can't go into the Igors and Premier League history. Part 3 will begin with Sunderland. Welcome to part 3 of the Guardian Football Weekly. If you're a regular listener, you'll know that this month Football Weekly is being supported by TNT Sports. In the ads, we've been talking about how TNT Sports is the destination for football's not normal moments, whether it's the Premier League, the UEFA Champions League, or the Men's and Women's FA Cup. Every match day has the potential to deliver drama, fun, and excitement. And as this is a prediction pod, we thought we'd ask the panel for a forecast of their not normal moment of the season ahead, something that would never happen. Man United finishing 15th, Spurs finishing 17th, Big Sam coming back, Aston Villa signing Rashford and Asensio in January. Something that would never happen, but actually might happen. John, I'll start with you.
I've got a couple here.
Okay, good.
Okay. I was watching Everton, unveiling their new stadium, the Hill Dickinson, and it was a veterans game. Everton v Roma. I'll tell you who was the best player on the pitch. Leighton Baines.
Oh, yeah.
I think Baines could still do a job for Everton.
So Baines back.
Baines back for Everton. I'd like to see it. I think he could grace the Hill Dickinson. And another one. I was sad to see that Juanma Lillo, Pep Guardiola's, almost like his comedy partner, his chorus line partner, has stepped away. He's been replaced by Pepin Linders, formerly Klopp's. So that's an interesting wife swap, if you'd like. But Pepin Linders is an ambitious guy. I could see him taking a club job somewhere else. We know there's been a bromance going on recently. I know who the new assistant should be for Pep.
Noel Gallagher.
No. Neil Warnock.
Neil Warnock.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that's a great idea. Barry?
What would be nice if we could get through an entire season where Arsenal fans are not in any way upset by any refereeing decision that goes against them at all over the course of 38 games. They're perfectly satisfied. There's no talk of conspiracies of any kind from on high, from Stockley Park or from the PGMOL. It's a pipe dream, but it could happen.
I'll say I at no point in the season will get frustrated by the handball door. Wilson?
Like John, I've got a couple. So I quite like especially a big team who have a bad start of the season, and in January they say, you know what, we haven't really been performing, so we're going to lower the ticket prices to reward our fans for their loyalty.
Perfect.
The impossible.
Or, and this is even less likely, a journey from London to the northwest for a game to run smoothly. Or, and this is perhaps, I think this is vaguely plausible, and this, to be fair, this was somebody on Twitter that asked us a question, what stimulated the thought. After Newcastle have got rid of Isak and they're desperately scrabbling around on the last couple of days of the window for a forward, they re-sign Ivan Toney from Saudi Arabia.
Oh, that is interesting. And you could see that happening.
Prodigal son returns,
With the Premier League, UEFA Champions League, Europa League, Conference League, Emirates FA Cup and Adobe Women's FA Cup all in one place. TNT Sports Not Normal. Stream TNT Sports on Discovery Plus or watch TNT Sports channels on EE Sky and Virgin Media.
Subscription required. Age 18 plus. T's and C's apply.
On to Sunderland. They've brought in reams of footballers, including Granit Xhaka, Simon Adingra from Brighton as well. They've lost Joe Bellingham. They've lost Tom Watson. They begin at home to West Ham. They've then played Burnley, Brentford, Palace and Aston Villa. They won the playoffs in dramatic style. Certainly the playoff semi-finals in dramatic style. Chris says, "How the Newcastle fan? How delighted are Barry and Jonathan knowing they've arrived in the Premier League. The exact season Newcastle's wheels fall off, finishing above us is surely on the cards." I was speaking to Kevin Hatchard yesterday, European football expert Wilson. He was saying a lot of the players that you brought in are quite physical. It could be quite a dirty big boot, hit 'em hard Sunderland.
Fine.
I'm excited about it.
The best recent Sunderland was the Sam Allardyce Sunderland, and they didn't mind a tackle.
Yeah.
So whatever it takes. If you'd asked me immediately after the final whistle on the day of the playoff final,
Through the tears, you would.
through the tears, yeah, I would have said, I just said, well, I'm just going to enjoy the day because next season's going to be terrible. But the signings have actually given me a little... I hate this about football. It just gives you hope. Just when you think, I can write off this season, it's fine. Yeah, the aim is actually to be the first team to get in single figures points. To set a record that will last the test of time. A record sort of held twice previously. But actually, I think the signings have been as good as you could realistically have expected. There's a nice range of ages that they're still going for the young players to develop and sell on, but they have brought in some experience. I mean, Granit Xhaka, I think, particularly looks a pretty smart signing. I mean, how bad must Erik ten Hag's first training session have been at Leverkusen? but suddenly, Granit Xhaka discovers his lifelong ambition to live in Sunderland. But anyway, I'm grateful that he has. So it's going to be incredibly difficult for them. But there's a chance. I think the start is pretty kind. So I think the stats show that newly promoted teams, if they don't get 8 points in the first 5 games, they don't stay up. Well, starting at home to West Ham, then Burnley away, then Brentford at home, there's a chance.
It's 9 points right there.
And then is it Palace away and then Villa at home?
Yeah.
So that's 15 points the first 5 games and nearly halfway there.
Barry?
Yeah, I presumed that when they went up, they would go straight back down. The number of players they brought in has astounded me. Some of them look. Working on the presumption that every player you bring in will be really good is quite a foolish one. But if even a third of them work out, that would still be really good. I think the signing of Granit Xhaka could be an absolute inspirational one. Interestingly, in 10,000 simulations of the imminent season run by the Optus supercomputer, Sunderland were the only team out of 20 who didn't win it once. So up yours, supercomputer. But I'm my sights are set slightly lower than winning it. I think Regis Lebris has something about him. I really do. He's very calm. He's authoritative, and very tactically flexible. I won't mind if Sunderland get relegated, but I certainly expect them to give a much better account of themselves than any of the 3 teams that came up last season.
I have them 17th, John. You?
I have them bottom, chaps, I'm afraid.
That's okay.
I'm not sure why I came to that conclusion. Regis Lebris, obviously a very talented coach, though he does remind me of someone who could work on MasterChef, The Professionals. Maybe it's just the name.
He sounds like a linebacker for the Buffalo Bills to me.
Yeah, or a game show host. Or something like that. Yeah. Granit Xhaka, that's an interesting signing. It feels to me that he's got the slot that should have been Jordan Henderson's. Yeah. And then Adingra, really talented player. I wonder why Brighton have let him go. That's my...
There's rumours that he's not the most dedicated trainer. I think it's...
Yes.
Sorry, who's this?
Adingra.
Yeah, and when you consider that the managers he worked with at Brighton, De Zerbi and Hertzler, they like things their own way. Let's see how Regis gets on with him.
You just sack him in the end zone, and then that's it.
He'll get him peeling potatoes in the corner like a commie chef.
Come on down.
And Sunderland's pre-season's been dreadful as well.
Oh, has it?
They beat Augsburg and they beat South Shields as much as they've beaten anybody else.
There's a big local derby then.
4-0 as well. Got beat 3-0 off Rayo Vallecano at the weekend.
Where have you got them?
20th.
Oh, you got them bottom?
Oh, realistic. Yeah.
Oh, okay, Baz.
15.
15th. Good for you. Okay, then. Tottenham are bought in 17th.
And
I had them bottom.
Spurs have brought in Mohamed Kudus. Matthias Tell and Kevin Danzo have signed permanently. Luka Vuskovic, a centre-back, from Hajduk Split as well. João Palhinha's come in. Heung-min Son has left. Højbjerg's left as well. James Maddison injured for most of the season. They begin at home to Burnley, then they go to Man City, play Bournemouth, West Ham and Brighton. We are recording this before Tottenham's victory over PSG in the European Super Cup. I had more enthusiasm for that until their social media account was like, Bayern Munich score 2-0. Bayern Munich score 3-0. Bayern Munich score 4-0 in a pre-season friendly. Thomas Frank, look, Spurs have ruined the lives of a lot of high-profile managers. Can they ruin the life of a lower-profile one, Barry?
Probably. I have high hopes for Thomas Frank, I have to say, at Spurs. He has a hard act to follow insofar as Ange Postecoglou won a trophy. He doesn't have a hard act to follow insofar as Spurs lost more than half of their Premier League games last season, was it?
22.
Yeah. I think he's been around long enough and is smart enough not to be fazed by this step up, bigger stadium, more demanding fan base. Spurs had a big problem last season, I think more so than any other side. They just throwing away points from winning positions. I think that won't happen this season. I think they will be far more defensively solid under Frank. I think they'll be better at set pieces. I think they'll be absolutely fine. I think he'll have them motoring up the table. They won't be anywhere near the relegation. So
the problem Frank has is that his history shows he starts slowly at clubs. It takes a while for players to learn how to do what he wants them to do. I think at Brentford he won one of the first 10 games. I think it's the start. And because he is, as you said, he's a lower profile manager, there is a danger that a section of Spurs fans who are already why are we getting a bloke from Brentford? Surely we're better than that. They see that and they immediately turn on him, and it becomes a bit like Nuno, and he's drummed out by October. I think that is a genuine risk. I hope it doesn't happen, because I think in time he would be good. But already things are sort of ganging up on him. Not getting Gibbs White when it looked like they got him. Losing Maddison.
I think Kulusevski's
knee is still damaged. Yeah,
they're exploring Eze and Savino and El Canous. They explore a lot of players.
No club better at exploring transfer opportunities. It's funny. I saw Daniel Levy did that interview with Gary Neville and talked about the money they've spent. But then I actually looked at it, and actually it was money they spent previously on players that were already coming in, like Danso and Tell. Listen, I'm a huge admirer of Thomas Frank, as I've said many times on this podcast. I do fear for him. I do think he has the wherewithal, the constitution to deal with it. At Brentford, there were a lot of difficult times over those years. He dealt with them all. When Barry says that they'll be better at set pieces, I think they can't be any worse than they were under Postecoglou at set pieces. Thomas Frank will actually concentrate on set pieces and not dismiss them as some mere frippery, as dear old Ange did. The thing is with Frank is that he is a pragmatic coach, and he can play different styles. I think...
And he changed how Brentford played.
Yes, because he played that very passing game. Then they arrived as the sort of new Wimbledon in the Premier League, and by the end of it, they were playing this really attacking football. I think Tottenham fans will quite enjoy that if he plays that. And he's innovative... and he has the ability to improve players, which is a big skill in managers, and Tottenham need that. They've got quite a lot of good young players coming in. There's a lot of hope for the Japanese guy that's coming again. I think they'll be fine with Frank if there's patience there. Patience at Tottenham, in short supply over the years, but also beyond Frank, there's been a big shifting in the boardroom and the sporting director and head of football and all that stuff. It's a club in transition. Funny enough, winning a trophy was supposed to be the achievement of a dream. Well, football doesn't work like that, does it? It's on to the next thing.
I have them 5th.
6th.
7th.
Right. West Ham, then. We are running out of time. Who could have foreseen this, West Ham and Wolves fans? As is customary, we apologise.
I suspect West Ham Wolves fans won't be that upset we've run out of time.
I have them bottom.
Have you?
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not quite sure why, but I don't think it's going to be... I mean, they've brought in Jean-Claude Todibo, a centre-back from Leeds.
But he was already there.
Yeah. El Hadj Diouf, not that one. Left back from Slavia Prague.
Yeah.
Kyle Walker-Peters and Callum Wilson. Kudus has gone, Zuma's gone, Danny Ings gone, Mikel Antonio, of course. Great news for Barry, Lucas Fabianski's gone. So, no
Are you
problems.
sure it's him that's gone?
I can't be sure. They start at Sunderland, then they play Chelsea, Forest, Spurs, and Palace. Came 14th. Does feel, Barry, like a tough season for Graham Potter, this.
Yeah, you look at the signings they brought in, not even remotely inspirational. I think West Ham's most remarkable moment last season was the Nicholas Fulkrug rant after they failed to beat Southampton. I think they beat Manchester United as well, and they're the only two things of note that West Ham that registered with me last season.
They did change managers and everything, and you.
Yeah.
But I mean, their form didn't change at all, did they? It's 23 points from 20 games on Lopetegui and 20 points from 18 games under Graham Potter. So it just kept going at exactly the same rate.
It's a classic West Ham misery summer. Again, we were talking to sporting directors. One came in, he's gone. The same guy that's been doing pretty much running the shop for many years is doing it. David Sullivan. There is disquiet amongst the fans. Maybe West Ham fans wouldn't have it any other way, but you do fear for them. That game against Sunderland, 6-pointer.
Isn't it?
12-pointer.
12-pointer.
I do think that the one ray of positivity is Lucas Paqueta. He's off the hook for that gambling charge. Hopes will once again be pinned on Jared Bowen. Jared Bowen has twins who are just gone past 2 years old. Jared Bowen's going to be very tired.
Well, do you know what? I on the same note, did you see James Maddison, who has 3 kids, has twins and another kid, and then they did an announcement saying we're having twins again.
Oh.
So I was like, obviously, I'm really sad that he's injured because I love him as a player, but I was worried about this season for him anyway, or in 9 months' time, because you can't have twins and not be
Two sets of twins.
2 sets of twins.
I've never heard of that before.
Yeah. Oh, so Bowen will be absolutely.
Yeah, Bowen's
broken.
going to be broken, man.
He's worked hard enough as it is.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, I was looking at West Ham that I researched the age of Jared Bowen's twins in the course of this because there's so little else to work with. Graham Potter was sold to us as this, he's a genius. And he did an undeniably good job at Brighton, but I'm beginning to wonder, has he got that?
I think the West Ham fans are wondering because it's not a lack of charisma, it's just that he's just a normal guy. And that
doesn't fit at West Ham.
That's not how football works, and it's not how it doesn't work at West Ham. You're right. You
need Harry.
You need Harry. You need Slaven. You need someone that's got a bit of
Where are we all putting them?
I have them 17th,
18th,
19th.
So 3 of us relegating West Ham. I'm also relegating Wolves. I have them 18th. Jorgen Strand Larsen has signed permanently. Fer Lopez, John Arias, and David Moller-Wolf have come in. Cunha's gone, Ryan Aït-Nouri's gone, Gonzalo Guedes has gone. They begin against City, then they play Bournemouth, Everton, Newcastle, and Leeds. Look, Vitor Pereira Wilson did a brilliant job with them last year, and it looks like it's going to be tougher this season. The thing that they can hang their hats on is him, right?
Under Gary Neal took 8 points from 15 games. Under Vitor Pereira, 34 points from 23 games. It's a massive improvement. That's almost trebling the points per game. If they can sustain that, then you talk about getting into Europe. But I suspect they can't sustain that. But he clearly is a very charismatic bloke. He seems to be good at motivating not just the players but the fan base. Once he'd come in, once that first sort of 3 or 4 weeks had passed, you didn't really think Wolves were going to get relegated last season. So if they start well, I think they'll be comfortable mid-table. But they're one of those clubs who you could see falling off a wall.
Look at his CV. Look how long he's lasted at his various clubs.
It's a long CV, isn't it?
It's a long CV. There's a lot of clubs. He's managed in Brazil, Portugal, Asia as well. He's there for a good time, not a long time, I think. And he likes his pints after points, doesn't he? Even when they were struggling to Gary O'Neill, I always thought there's a lot of talent in the squad that's sort of fairly latent. Fer Lopez that they brought in, quote from Vitor Pereira, he has the magic we need. So let's watch out for him.
They have a brilliant midfield, I think, in Andre and João Gomez. John Arias, they brought in. He lit up the Club World Cup. Will he be able to carry that form on to the Premier League? Time will tell. I don't think they'll do as well as last season, but I'm not relegating them either.
Where do
I
you
have them 16th.
13th.
I have them 15th.
15th. I have them 18th. Quickly, let's have your top sevens. Barry, your top seven, please.
Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal, Brighton, Chelsea, Spurs.
And your bottom three?
From the bottom, Burnley, Everton, Leeds.
Wilson.
Top seven: Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, City, Villa, United, Tottenham. Bottom three from bottom upwards: Sunderland, Burnley, West Ham.
Arsenal winners, Liverpool, City, Chelsea, Manchester United, Villa, Tottenham. Bottom three: Burnley, West Ham, Sunderland.
Right. And I have Man City winning the league, Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, Spurs, Villa, Man United as my top seven, West Ham bottom, Burnley 19th, and Wolves 18th. Apologies to these three sides. And that'll do. Thanks, everybody. So you have Chelsea, you think will win the league?
I think they need to bring in a centre-back, but I trust their ability to buy players. Yeah, I think you're watching the Club World Cup final, they were so good, and that was such an obvious Maresca triumph that I think last season, Maresca got a load of grief, his football's boring. But if they take the lead in the first 15, 20 minutes of games, and you're being slightly boring protecting a 1-0 lead, I think fans are much more accepting of that. And a lot of the problem last season was they just didn't take their chances. And I know a lot of Chelsea fans got quite upset with Nicholas Jackson. They've clearly upgraded him. João Pedro and Liam Delap, I think, are both upgrades. And Nicholas Jackson, I just feel really sorry for. He's one of the people who's been chewed up by that whole way of doing business. He came in having played 16 games in La Liga, and suddenly, you're a first choice centre forward for a Premier League club who expects to get in the Champions League, and it's a ludicrous expectation to place on a young player. He's never had a time to develop or a place to sort of. He hasn't had the right sort of curve of education. So I still think there could be a player in there. I think his movement's pretty good, just not that good at finishing yet.
I'm being told we have 2 minutes to get out of the studio. I don't know what's on next, so whatever thought you had, John, you can't have it. And that'll do. Save it for the next pod.
Okay, will do, yeah.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Wilson.
Cheers.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barry.
Thank you, Max.
Leave us a nice review on Apple or Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, etc. And we'll be back next week. Football Weekly is produced by Joel Grove. Our executive producer is Danielle Stevens.